It has been over 4 years since the Fractal Audio FM9 has come out, and I wanted to answer some of the questions like, is this modeler outdated? Should you buy the FM9 in 2025? And is it right for you? Now, over the last 8 years, I have owned 2 different Fractal Audio amp modelers and a Line 6 HX Stomp XL. And I've always enjoyed the Fractal ecosystem, but like anything, of course, there's a lot more that you need to know before you make the decision of buying your next amp modeler. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, how does the FM9 sound? As someone who has had extensive experience with real amplifiers, the Line 6 HX Stomp, and the FM9 Fractal unit stuff, the FM9 sounds by far the best out of anything that I've tried. And in my opinion, there's no doubt in my mind why the Fractal Audio amp modelers are consistently named the best amp modeler out there year after year. Now, admittedly, I do feel like my HX Stomp and my analog pedal board does have a little bit more portability than the FM9. However, I do think that the functionality and the features of the FM9 definitely more than makes up for its larger footprint. Whereas the HX Stomp and the traditional pedal board is really good at turning on and off effects, and sure, there is the snapshot functionality of the HX Stomp, but the FM9 can both act as a pedal board traditionally. It has its own snapshot mode. It has a song setlist feature, which personally is my absolute favorite thing about the FM9. And it works as just kind of a preset bank as well. So you have all the options of the HX Stomp in a traditional pedal board, and then some more with the FM9. And because of that, I think it's kind of hard to compare the FM9 to anything else. Because not only does the FM9 sound incredible, it also feels great to play as well. And when you pair it with an external foot switch like the EV1 or EV2, you can control almost any parameter that you can edit within the machine using only your foot. Now, honestly, I feel like the Fractal Audio has some of the most immersive and best quality sounding effects and amp modelers on the marketplace today. And I feel like Fractal Audio has done an amazing job of creating something that feels immersive and has a ton of different spacey effects, especially when it comes to delays and reverb. And I love the effects in the unit so much that I only pair it with 3 pedals. 2 of these expression pedals for wah and volume control, and this Digitech drop pedal for my drop tunings. The amp modeling and the effects have this certain high fidelity range that I never really noticed in a live setting, maybe from the sheer volume or the fact that a ton of other band members are playing as well. But when I'm playing solo in this room right here, it is just simply sublime. So with like any amp modeler, the number one concern is, well, it doesn't really feel like a tube amp, especially when it's not pushing air. And I get this as well, but I feel like the FM9 and all the Fractal stuff in this generation does the most amount to curb that with their design. And then when I pair it with this Laney 2x12 vertical FR, that concern goes completely out the window in a live setting. And other than that, I don't have really any complaints. One tremendous upside compared to all other amp modelers is I feel like Axe Effects is the standard when it comes to amp modeling effects. As somebody who's used an all-in-one amp modeling solution like the HX Stomp, the FM9 really blows the doors out of the water when it comes to feel, playability, and tones. And having the portability of the FM9 compared to something like the Axe Effects with only slightly less DSP processing power, and you don't have the ability to run like 12 different drives and delays at the same time, it really sets the bar extremely high for its competitors. And having the portability of the FM9 to compare to something like the Axe FX3 really makes having your bedroom tones and the stuff that you dial in here really easy to recreate that on any given stage. If you're still watching this far in the video, please subscribe. It really helps me understand what you guys enjoy the most so I can make more of that content in the future. And in my opinion, this is the #1 reason that people switch from any other amp modeler into the Fractal Audio ecosystem. And I also think that's a large part of why this model unit, the FM9, and its predecessor, the AX8, has been so successful. The FM9 is not only more portable, comes with its own floorboard unit, and it captures almost all of the different sounds that the flagship model, the XFX3, captures with slightly less processing power. And no matter what your experience is, whether it's with an amp modeler or your traditional pedal board and amp, 2-amp, whatever, you're going to find that the FM9 is super engaging and super fun to use. Plus, I think Fractal Audio has finally taken a page out of the Line 6 playbook by making their units available at different price points for different budgets. In this case, they've created the XFX3, which is their big flagship model. You have the FM9, the FM3, which is the FM9's little brother with only 3-foot switches, and the new VP4, which stands for Virtual Pedal Board 4. They've also created 2 different external foot switches in the EV1 and EV2, and a amp load box, if that's kind of the thing that you're looking for. And I also think that the Fractal Audio has some of the best external editing software out there, especially when you compare it to the burdensome, the task that's challenging to learn, the learning curve is extremely steep, of actually making tweaks on the unit itself. And that is probably one of the biggest, if not the only downside of the Fractal Audio stuff. Not only does the FM9 give you almost anything you could ever want from a firmware perspective, it gives you literally everything you could ever want from a hardware perspective, especially with 9 switches. You have the ability to route multiple effects to these external switches. You can use them like a traditional wah or a volume pedal, which is how I usually use them. Or you can connect them and control literally any parameter within the XFX unit. That's the reason why I bought the FM9. Or I should say, that's the reason why I bought the XFX2, was from the guitarist from CBDB said, yeah, you can use this expression pedal to affect and change the delay time at the foot of your switch. Because I wanted to make some weird, jammy, time-based weirdness. I don't know. You can literally change any parameter and use it as a pot, but with your foot. It's pretty freaking awesome. Lastly, in today's day and age, I really feel like you can't go wrong with an amp modeler or a profiler if you go down the Kemper route. They're just tools for us guitar players to make the music that lives inside of our hearts. And when you get past the fact that you're not moving air, at least not initially, the tones, they sound really pretty freaking incredible. When it comes down to choosing which amp modeler you want, it really comes down to whether or not you want something that's simple and easy to program that sounds pretty good, or do you want something that has a little bit of a learning curve but has the best tones out there, along with incredible functionalities like the song preset mode, which I think is god tier. In this case, I think it will largely depend on what route you want to go down for any digital amp or modeler. Now I've got a few other points worth noting about the FM9 that are good to know when making a purchase decision. Now I briefly mentioned the song setlist functionality, and this is one of those unique functionalities and features of the FM9 that literally takes it to the next level of the amp modeling echelon. It has the ability to choose any song in your presets, regardless of where they are regardless of what bank they might be, and be able to copy and paste that into a song live selection that you can easily swap out and edit and change quickly, and immediately go to the next song and the next presets during a live set. And if there's any last minute changes to the set list, you can easily copy and paste and move it around without having to do a whole lot of copying and editing and changing the order of the presets that you're currently on. If you want to go over that in more depth, I made a whole video right here that you can go check out later. But the reason why I feel like this is such a big, important use is not only does Fractal think about having the best tones when it comes to amp modelers, but they're also thinking about this unit from a live perspective. Yes, this can recreate some of the best tones you've ever heard in your life, but Fractal was smart enough that you're getting a floor unit so you can go out and play live. So what kind of functionalities and features do guitar players need when they're up on the stage? And I just feel like Axe FX takes that step a little bit further to understand the real player's needs. And speaking of user experience, as somebody who owned the Axe FX2 XL Plus when it first came out 8 years ago, comparing the community to today, it is literally night and day. The overall community, the amount of available presets on the exchange, the different presets and IRs that you can buy externally, everything has changed, and the Axe FX world has definitely grown, making great tones more reachable to more players. And unlike most amp modeling communities, Fractal really has embellished the idea of sharing your profiles for free. You'll see a lot of YouTubers, myself included, saying, hey, buy my HX Stomp presets. You won't see that much with the Axe FX community. They're pretty awesome about putting them up on the Axe Exchange, where you can find literally almost any tone you can ever imagine. All for free, by the way. No more buying preset packs to get killer sounds. Well, you can, but going on the Exchange, there's more than enough that anybody will ever be looking for. And if you're still not convinced on which portable amp modeler you should get, check out this video right here. It goes over the HX Stomp compared to the FM9. I'll see you over there, and until then, let the music play.